Want to make sure I said hi to everyone. Okay. And then if you just joined, we all wrote in the chat if we are a real estate agent. If you are, where are you licensed? And then if you are not a real estate agent, that's totally fine. Put it in the chat. Tell us kind of where you're going to be using the ad in your business. All right, I'm sharing my screen. Give me a thumbs up or write in the chat that you can see my screen.
Good.
Good, perfect. Thank you, Charlie. All right, I'm going to pop the chat over here because I like to make sure I can see everything. Tiana says she can see the presentation. Wonderful. Okay, so if you don't know who I am personally, I am Teonna McCurry. I am a licensed agent here in Pennsylvania. My specialty is Philly, Delaware County, Montgomery County, but I'm also a coach and I absolutely love what I do. I started in education, so teaching is my passion. I love to teach. I love to just share information that people can use and teach other people, right? Education is so transferable. We can teach our families, our kids, our coworkers, just the power of education. And so I am so grateful to be able to not only educate, when I was an elementary school teacher, but to be able to educate in another passion of mine, which is real estate. And if you follow me or know me, you know social media grew my business in the past 2 to 3 years exponentially. And so I am passionate about showing other agents because I know what it's like to hope you get a closing next month or to hope you can finally get a strong lead or to be posting and it really not gaining traction and you're trying to figure out what am I doing wrong? Why do I see other agents closing deals and getting clients and I'm not, right? I know what that feels like. And so when I created the system, I said, wait, like I can't just keep this to myself. I'm too excited about the possibility of where this could go and the potential for my life that I want to be able to share with other agents. And so it's really jam-packed. Take notes, ask questions, but this is possible, right? I am the living proof that this is possible. So first things first, this is from Reels to Revenue. I want to be really clear about what this is going to be so that you know what to expect by the end of this. All right. You should register, right? If you need to learn how to, the exact formula to attract buyers and sellers. Okay, when I say attract them, I mean book them, make them leads, get them to the closing tables. We don't just want likes. That's cool and everything, but that doesn't lead to income. Likes don't lead to income. All right. If you need to discover the highest converting video content by platform, we will be focusing specifically on Instagram for tonight, but these can also be used in other social media platforms as well. If you're on this call, it's because you need to master posting strategies that build your pipeline. You do not want to get burnt out. I'm at the place in my business where I can go to sleep and wake up and there's leads in my DMs. Okay. This should be working. Your social media strategy and system should be working for you. It should be working overnight. Making money while you sleep, they say, not having you burnt out. By the end of this, you will walk away with a plug and play scripts, what you should be saying, things you should be posting, right? And then next steps. So if any of that speaks to you, let me know in the chat. Give me some emoji, give me some fire, give me I'm in the right place so that I know the people on this call belong here with us tonight. Yes, Shar said, my girl Shar. Yes, hi, I'm so happy you're here. Followers into dollars. Let me see reels to revenue. From reels to revenue, we are no longer just posting because it's cute for creativity, for a hobby. We are making money with the time that we're putting in. As agents, we know how crucial time is, especially if you are still working maybe your 9 to 5 or you have multiple businesses, entrepreneurial. You know how crucial your time is. And if your time is not making you money, it ain't making sense. All right, Stephanie. Yes, ma'am. We're excited. Hi, welcome, welcome. I'm going to say, tell me how to say your name, Saron. I want to make sure I pronounce it correctly. Tamira is here. Absolutely.
Ron.
Taran, yes, welcome, Taran. Taran says she's in the right place. All right, if you've been you're posting consistently or you're trying to, all right, you're getting likes and views, or you get some comments, probably, from the people in your sphere, maybe your friends and family, but you aren't seeing any consistent leads or closings. That's why we're here. Now, the thing is, you're probably like, I'm not consistent. I don't know how to make content. I don't have the right videos. I don't have the right pictures. I didn't get some new fancy headshots. But 9 times out of 10, your content isn't the problem. The issue is that we haven't figured out how to convert that content. Because I've seen many realtors or people in other businesses and other ventures post gorgeous content, but they're having an issue with converting them into buyers. Okay, so that is the issue here. So I want you to kind of rewire and make a mindset shift. Your content may not be the problem. It may be you have not figured out how to convert your content. Posting does not mean you are growing your pipeline. Being visible does not mean that you're making income. That's like me walking outside my house, my office, and saying, just because I'm outside and I'm visible to the public, that people are using me as their realtor. That's not true. I have to be intentional, right? There's things I need to be doing. I need to have a system. I need to have a plan. Just because I'm visible doesn't mean anything. You could even go to the airport with a "I'm an agent" sign on your back. People are going to see you. For all those people going to come running to you for you to be their agent? No, not unless you have a system, a script, words to say. It does not mean it. And I know you all can relate. Stephanie said that's true. Absolutely true. How many people know that we are agents and have not called us yet, have not said, "I need you to help me," or have not even referred us, even if they don't need real estate, assistance at this very moment? They haven't even referred us. It's because we don't have a system to convert them into either leads or referral business. The key is conversion. So when I coach, I don't coach my agents or entrepreneurs how to make content so they can be visible. I teach them so they can be profitable. Bills have to get paid. Fees have to get paid. Right? I need the MLS to do my business, but if I don't have business, how am I paying my MLS fees? Okay? It needs to be profitable, not cute. Now, it can be both, but it shouldn't be one or the other. I stopped making reels a trend and I started turning it into a system. That is when everything clicked. That's when the light bulb went off. If you don't follow my social media page, you can either go to your real estate coaches. I'm just going to write it in the chat so that you can see the evidence of what I'm talking about. This is on Instagram. And then _ Teonna Renee. All right, this is going to help you either whether today or after class or at some point, go in and look, because sometimes it helps us to have a visual of what things look like. I'm going to be really talking about the strategy and a lot of the logic behind it. But if you're also a visual learner, that may also help you say, okay, now I see, I can connect what Teonna told me to do to what she actually did. All right, let's keep going. Most agents post without a strategy. Their content is broad. They think, hey, if I want 100 clients, I need to make sure I'm talking to everybody. I need to capture everybody who's going to look at this reel. We're not specific enough. We're just hoping that the right person finds our content. We're hoping. We're not doing outbound and inbound. Inbound is when clients find me, whether on the For You page or the search page, or maybe somebody tags or shares your content. But we also need to be doing outbound. We need to be going to look for, where is my ideal client at? Where is she at? Is she at Pilates? Is she at the gym? Is she at a baking class? Where is she at? I also need to be doing outbound search. And that's something that people don't talk a lot about social media. It's a lot of what to post, just hoping people find you. But on the other side of that is I need to be going out and interacting with other people, my ideal clients, and then they'll come and find me as well. Exactly. True connection. That's greedy to just say, oh, when I post, my person's going to come to me. I know for a fact my ideal client probably has some kind of business or group or type of community they're building. So I like to make sure I'm investing and taking time to figure them out too. What are their hobbies? What do they like? How can I support them as well? It's a two-way street. Because otherwise, people are only going to come to you if they're looking for real estate. But if they see you as a resource, as a community member, they'll come to you even outside of that. Absolutely, Stephanie. True connection. How do you feel today? We're going to, I'm excited. Teonna said, how do you feel today? And I'm guessing you felt she's referring to how do you filter where is your ideal client? And we're going to get to that. And that's one of my favorite things to talk about. Now let's get into why I teach what I teach, because some of you know me personally. Shar and I have been on stages together speaking at the real estate symposium. Some of you are agents at my office. I may know you outside of real estate, but why I teach this specific strategy is because I wasn't always consistent. I wasn't always confident. And I know that may seem hard to imagine now once you know me for about the past 2 years in real estate, but my business did not also feel stable. I too was posting. I too was working really hard, but there was no system in place. When I started treating social media like a tool, like a money-making tool, when I started making this tool work around my time, I was teaching. I had to be at work at 7:30 in the morning. I got off at 4:30. I had my son. I had to make sure he had their homework. He had dinner, right? I had a full day of things to do. So I needed a system in real estate that could get me leads that I could work on prior to 7:30 in the morning and something I could do later in the evening as well. I can't door knock during those hours. I'm not cold calling anybody before 7:30 in the morning and after, maybe 6:30, 7:30 at night. I needed something that could work on my time, because another excuse that we make is I don't have enough time. How am I going to do that? And I got my kids. How am I going to do that when I work in my job? I am the living proof that I did all of that and still grew my real estate business. So the reason why I love social media so much is because you can build it around your time. It should be making money for you while you're sleeping if you're doing it correctly and you have the right systems in place. And the final thing I had to do is I had to commit. I could no longer be interested in real estate. I could say, oh, I like houses and I like people. That's why I'm gonna, be in real estate. I had to commit to it. They say you treat your business like a hobby, your business is going to pay you like a hobby. When I started committing and treating my business like a business, when I started using social media as a tool, I did it consistently. It wasn't an if. I was like, this gotta work. So the framework I'm teaching you all, and the reason why I'm telling you all this in advance, is because I want you to know this is not a theory. Especially if you don't know me personally, I know you can find somebody on social media or Eventbrite and say, oh, this looks cool, but I wonder if they really do what they said they do. I really do it. This is how I was able to survive and help my business ultimately thrive and be in such a good place where I'm closing consistently and I have my pipeline full. And last thing before we really get into the tidbit, you may be asking yourself, and I get this a lot, Teonna, I'm not as outgoing. I'm not an extrovert. I'm not bubbly. I'm not, because they look at my personality and say, if I don't have the same personality as Teonna, I'm not going to be able to use the system. Not true. I've had agents in other states, Jersey, New York, Atlanta, Delaware, Maryland. I've taught this class so many times and I've had so many amazing results because it's not based on what market you're in and it's not based on your personality. It's based on your framework. You have to have the system. There's an agent, she's actually in commercial real estate. That's amazing. Her personality is very introverted, very shy, quiet, but she's a little witty and sarcastic. Literally messaged me like, Teonna, oh my God, somebody's already booking my consultation. I just post, this reel. I just started being really consistent with my content. So this is not an if, but when. If you need to see numbers, again, if you're a visual person, when I started being consistent and I implemented this system, here's just one screenshot of the reels that I started to post, of the content that started to say, hey, this is doing something. I can get this to convert. If I can get the people to look at me, I can get to conversion. And so if you're like, I want my reels, my content to look like this consistently, put consistent in the chat. 10,000 saves, 11,000 likes, 668,000 views, shares, 11,000 shares. And I was able to do that. Hey, Hannah, I didn't know you were here, girl. Do this in less than, I was able to do this in less than 30 days. to be able to build this type of content. So I'm not saying, oh, I did this for 2 years. I had to build it out for 2 years. I've been using the system for 2 years that I created, but the actual results came in 30 days. And most importantly, because again, visibility does not equal income. Here's a screenshot of my Calendly calendar. Okay, January 2024. Full, all these blue names, consultations. Buyer consultations, either buyer or seller. I started my system in November 2023. This is January 2024. And month after month after month after month. 2024, I did almost 900 consultations. This is what my calendar looked like. It was insane. And I was still working my 9 to 5. I was working 7:30 to 4:30. Conversion. This is no fluff. We are not going to be talking about fluff, but I want you guys to see proof of what I'm saying. This was my calendar. Was I sneaking on the side at my job teaching, in between my lunch breaks, my hour lunch break, I was taking buyer consultations here, taking them there, doing whatever I could. Yes, so it's not going to be easy, but this is worth it. And this screenshot here is showing by April. This was April 2024. So a few months later, my calendar was still full. When I took this screenshot, it was April 24th. You can see this little dot here. The rest of the month was full. I had people sending me DMs like, Teonna, I'm trying to schedule consultation for April, but it's giving me May. And at this point, I was taking 8, 9, 10 consultations a day. So the work works if you work it. So now, if you haven't already started taking notes, this is where we're going to start to write things down. Your reels need to do one of 3 things. And then we're going to go into the 3 things that it needs to do in order to convert. They need to either attract, they need to warm, or they need to invite. Attract, warm, or invite. I don't care how creative the reel might be. If you do a cartwheel while you're in somebody's show in the kitchen, doesn't matter how amazing it is if it doesn't do one of these 3 things: attract, warm, or invite. Now let's get into what those 3 things mean. The reason why I know my reel needs to attract, warm, or invite is because I know, and you're about to know, how many people you need to talk to on Instagram. Because the question is, well, Teonna, how come just a cute reel or a funny reel or interesting reel doesn't convert? It's because that agent who's having this issue, which was me and maybe you now, didn't know how many people they needed to talk to on Instagram in order to get to a lead. They didn't know how many people to talk to on Instagram in order to have conversations. Real estate is a belly-to-belly business. You have to be talking to people. The breakdown you're going to write down your notepad is that conversations equal consultations. Then you're going to write consultations equal clients. Because unless you are absolutely mean, nasty, confused, stuttering every 7 seconds, don't present your own value, don't know your value proposition, don't know what you bring to the table, don't know how amazing you are, it's hard to believe that if you get a consultation on the phone that you cannot lock them into a client. And that's 90% chance. The other 10% chance is maybe, they're not in the same state as you, or maybe they're looking for somebody who does something you don't specialize in. Like there's a reason why. But outside of that, somebody who's looking to do the exact service that you provide should be turning into a client. So your conversations should turn into consultations. Your consultations should turn into clients. And your clients should turn into closing. They call me the closer for a reason. Because then not only is posting on Instagram should get you to clients, but then you also need to have systems to get the closings. I can't tell you how many consultations out of those 900 consultations I did in 2024, people would say, I scrolled through realtors' Instagrams, because by the time they called me, they called at least, or maybe contacted or followed 4 or 5 other realtors on Instagram. There's a plethora of us. But they said, but when I came to your Instagram page, you were closing, right? They want to see results. And so we also have to get results to keep people coming back. So your conversations, those things that you're scared to do, those conversations you're scared to have, they equal your consults, your clients, and then your closings.
Teonna,
Yep,
question.
I think so.
So are you going to explain how we get to the conversations, or should I?
Yep, Charlie, that's the very next thing we're talking about.
And I had a question too. I was going to
Yes,
say, are you using the Keller Williams, the command?
I do use command, but this can be applied even if you don't use command, right? If you're at another office
Okay.
or another brokerage that use something else or another CRM, you can use any CRM that you have. This can be applied to that. And I'm so happy you asked.
Okay.
So because I know my number, I'm going to share my number with you guys. I know that in Instagram or social media or when I'm just talking to people throughout the week, it typically takes about 10 conversations for me to get one lead. And when I say lead, I mean someone who is actively somehow ready to start their real estate journey. Right? For me to really lock them in. 10 conversations equals one lead. Do you know your 10 equals one? Do you know how many conversations you've had to have to get one client?
No,
No.
because it's like random for me right now. So
Mm-hmm.
I was
This is
asking,
why
I'm
we need a
letting them
system.
come to me. So you said don't let them come to you. I have to come to them. I have to talk to them.
Mm-hmm. Because otherwise, we're just leaving it to the wind. We're just hoping and praying that they show up in our inbox, that they show up in our comments. Now, of course, we're going to do both, but we have to be very intentional to make sure that we are having conversations. This is why we can't track we can't track views, we can't track followers because none of that is a conversation. Where are you going? No. Start tracking instead, and this is what I want you all to start tracking. Conversation started. This needs to be something in your notes app, a notepad that you carry around. However you do it every day, you need to be tracking how many real estate conversations did I have? Because let's be honest, looking at your likes, views, and followers is pretty discouraging on any given day. If I look tomorrow, my follower count may not have gone up by one. So what does that mean, right? Is my business doomed? The likes, views, and followers mean nothing. A realtor here, you could probably attest to the fact that you've had views and likes on things and maybe nobody commented on it, but they came to your DM or they said, I found you on social media. You're like, how? Because I only get 3 likes.
Right, because most people won't talk. They won't talk
Exactly.
on your comments, but they'll talk to you in your DM.
Which is great. We want to leverage that. We want them. Conversations in our DMs, they count. Conversations on the phone count. Conversations in person count. Those things count. I want you to start tracking how many DMs did you reply to? No, thank you. Yes. So then your DMs, sorry, that's my son. Your DMs, and again, that needs to be strategic as well. There needs to be a system about how you respond to people, right? So that they can actually book the call. But the key point in this slide is you need to know your 10 equals 1. If you don't know how many conversations it's going to take for you to get a lead, we're just in the win. But even think about your day-to-day. You're like, oh man, I don't know if I'm going to get a lead today. I got to post social media. I got to do all these things. But if I know, hey, I just need to have 10 conversations about real estate and I'm going to get me a lead. Even that is more encouraging than just saying I need to post and hope somebody, has a conversation with me. 20, Teonna said 20. The fact that you at least know what that number is, because over time, our conversion rate can get better. We can get down to 5. We can get down to 1 someday. But as long as you know, but what that means is that we need to be having 20 conversations, even if you need to spend it out in a week. Because getting, let's just say, 2 leads a week isn't bad, especially if they're strong leads who are ready to get pre-approved or, sign contracts. That's not a bad number. Most leads, right, can close in the next 60 to 90 days. So we're always thinking 60 to 90 days out. Our conversion rate can always get better. But if we don't know that number, how can it get better? Right now, you might be at 50 and you don't even know. And so when you're thinking, how come I'm not having any closing? It's because you have to have 50 conversations. Exactly. We're going to talk about that, T. How to attract your ideal client. Yes, and that goes into your previous question. How do we filter that? So again, the key takeaway from here is know your conversion number. Mine's 10 equals 1. What is your 10 equals 1? What is your conversion rate? And if you don't know it, start having conversations and you'll find out. If you have 20 conversations tomorrow and you get 3 leads, that's your conversion rate. I had to talk to 20 people, I got 3 leads. These are the steps we're going to be taking. We're going to create a reel that's specific to our target audience, which I'm going to show you how to do that. You're going to have conversations from that reel. You're going to book calls because the conversation could be in the DMs. The call is where the bread and butter is. That's where the money is. When they get on that call and they can hear your personality and they can hear all the value that you have, that's how they become a client. So if you are not getting to this step here on a call, it makes so much sense why you're like, I'm not closing consistently because I'm not having enough phone calls. So don't beat yourself up because at least there's a solution to that. It means we need to get to the phone call, please. If your content doesn't lead to that next step, which is the call, it's entertaining and it's not marketing. Entertainment does not get you clients. Marketing gets you clients. Systems get you clients. So now that we know, okay, I need to start thinking about my conversion rate. Now that we know what's our pipeline strategy, now we can get back into the 3 types of reels you need to be creating. We're going to kind of like backwards design. We need to know the why in order to say, this is what I need to do. The why and then the what. I can't tell you what. I can't tell you what reels to make if you don't even know the why. So the first reel is going to be an attract reel. What are attract reels? They answer questions for the person looking at it, for your audience. Is this person, this could be the realtor for me, or if you have another business venture, is this blank for me, this lawyer for me, this nurse for me, this teacher for me? Is this person for me? Do they understand my problem? This is how you attract them. Think about relationships. So you're finding a partner. You need to be able to attract them. Are they for me? Do they understand what I need? Do they know my love language? Examples of these types of reels, write this down. When I say this should be your like content pillars, this should be in your content strategy, perspective shifts. Most first-time home buyers think this, but blank. If you don't make 6 figures and think that you can't buy a house, watch this reel. Right? It should be something that changes their perspective, something that you know their pain points, you know their stress. Maybe they don't have enough money in the bank. They're looking for grants. Something that changes their perspective. If you don't think you qualify for grants, I know at one point there was this grant that a lot of my nurse clients qualified for, and it was because the income limit was much higher than most grants or down payment assistance programs were. And so that's how I led with that content. I attracted more nurses because I said, hey, if you make above 6 figures, you're a high income earner. If you're a high income earner, you can qualify for this grant. And they were like, what? Wow. Right. That was a perspective shift. They said, she is for me because she knows about a grant that I could qualify for. She is for me because she understands my problem. Relatable pain. A lot of our stories probably intersect with our ideal client stories. Think about your pain points, whether you're a homeowner or not. What pain points do you have? And especially if you aren't, because you can say, hey, these are the things that's stopping me, or maybe a barrier or something I have to overcome in order to be able to buy a house. So you can absolutely speak to that. Relatable pain. If you did purchase a home before, or you did go through the renting process before, Maybe you had a hard time getting in touch with agents. Your content should reflect that. You can create content from that. And then truths agents avoid. So think about, especially if you've had any kind of transactions, whether buying, selling, or leasing, any maybe hiccups or things that potential clients or clients have told you, oh, I didn't know this. Oh, the other realtor I spoke to didn't say this before. I bought a house before and I never had to go through this. So things that other agents or maybe clients are saying they didn't have to experience before, they didn't know, that's the kind of content. Because if they didn't know it, that means a lot of other people didn't know it. And you're going to be seen as the expert. You're going to say, hey, wait, she's for me because she's telling me things that other agents aren't talking about. Let me see somebody in the chat. So you need to attract. These are the roles where you attract them to you. All right. The other type of content, the other reels that you need that are going to convert are your warm reels. So we've attracted them, right? They liked our reel. Maybe they followed us. But now we need to build trust. And I hope this is confirming to you all that, hey, maybe that's why I'm not getting clients because I post every once in a while. Your every once in a while posts keep doing this. They keep attracting them. They're like, oh, okay, maybe. Oh, I saw that. That was cute. But when you're consistent and you're consistently posting these types of reels, they'll say, oh, I can trust her or I could trust him. Warm reels build trust by showing how you think, any systems that you use, whether it's your buyer guide, your buyer system, your rental system, your standards, your values, who you help. You have to build trust. Headshots don't build trust, right? Coffee shops, doing your hair, that's cute content. It doesn't build trust for somebody to use you as a realtor. I work out a lot. I may post me working out in my stories or on my page. Doesn't build trust. And I know that, right? I'm intentional about that. What they do is build community, right? And it helps people, it attracts the right client to me because my ideal client works out, right? They care about their health, their wellness journey. But I know that if I'm intentional about the content that I'm posting, I know that. But if I'm only posting attract reels, that's the issue, right? If I'm only posting trust building reels, that's the issue because who's there to trust me? I didn't attract anybody. So I have this content that could build trust, but I don't have an audience to present it to because I haven't attracted them, if that makes sense. So you need to have authority. Your authority and the trust is why people use you over and over and over again. And so my clients come to me 1, 2, 3, 4 times because you're knowledgeable, you're an expert. All right, the last reel you're going to write down, your invite reel. And this is the one where we might start to feel a little bit uncomfortable with because you feel like I'm selling myself. If you follow me on Instagram, you know I rarely ever, I could probably count on one hand how many times I've said or posted, my name is Teonna McCurry, use me as your realtor. Looking to buy or sell, use me. I don't think I've ever even posted that. And some people may say I'm crazy. So what I'm not saying say it in a salesy kind of way if you don't necessarily like to do salesy posts, because neither do I, but it doesn't mean that you don't need to be intentional about telling people how they can work with you. You've attracted them, you've helped them trust you. Now be clear, you have to be explicit. Okay? And write reels. Tell people to DM you, tell them to book a call or consultation with you, a strategy session. Tell them to attend your class. Grab a resource if you have one. If you don't invite them to do it crazy enough, it will not convert. So you have to invite them, and your content should be a mix of these 3 things. But I'll know. All right. I gave you the content that you need to be posting. But even with that, you may feel like, but I don't like to get on camera. How often do I tell them to DM or consult or book with me or work with me? How do I really transition to get on a call with them? I'm a little nervous. What if I stutter? What do I say if someone actually DMs me? When I say comment house to work with me and they comment house, Tiana, what do I say? Right? Have you ever had that? You're like, okay, they're in my DMs. Or this was magic before. People would be in my DMs asking about real estate. And I'm sitting there having a 10-day conversation with them about how to buy a house. And I'm just responding because I'm like, okay, I have to respond. This is good. This is good. This is a lead. Meanwhile, if I only would have known the system earlier, that the quicker I get them off of Instagram and into a phone call, onto a phone call, into my CRM, the more likely they will use me. Do not feel pressure to have these long, drawn out 10-step conversations in your DMs. That's not the goal. The goal is to almost like a funnel. Okay, here they are on Instagram. Now they're on my post. Now they're in my DMs. Now they're on a phone call, right? Like that's the goal. So the quicker I can get them from my DMs to my actual phone call, the quicker I can get them to be a client. And so when people say, Tiana, how do you convert people so fast? How do you have to? Because I get them off of social media. Social media is just a funnel. Okay, so your responses, so the answer to what do I say when I respond? How do I transition to get them to have a call with me without feeling a little awkward? Whatever your brand tone or voice is, use that, but it should be a quick 1 or 2 sentences. Save it in your notes app. Actually, I'm going to go to my notes app and read mine to you guys. This is literally in my notes app. And there's all other kinds of apps and things that you can do now to automate this, but I'm going to tell you my tried and true way. When someone DMs me, so when someone comments, they say, oh, Grant, right? And then they DM me. I say, hi, here is the link for us to do a one-on-one to check qualifications for grants or what we need to do to work or what we need to work on to get you ready. Once that's scheduled, I'll send you an email. And then I have my Calendly link. So I have a quick little message to kind of soften it up in the beginning. Hey, here's a link for us to do a one-on-one so that we can discuss X, Y, Z. Right? Because otherwise they're going to say, oh, they just submitted a call. What am I calling her for? Such and such. But I'm already giving my value proposition. I'm saying, if you do this one-on-one with me, we can talk through your qualifications and what to do to get you ready. Because I know a lot of times my ideal client and most first-time home buyers, they're like, I don't know what to do next. I think I'm ready, but I don't know what that really even means. So I'm using those pain points and those keywords in my very quick, that's what, 1, 2 sentences. And then I have my Calendly link. Right, because if you think about it, the longer I stay on my DMs with them, they're going to say, first I'm at work, I'm with my kid, I'm asleep. So they're going to be a little frustrated that I'm not responding. Every time they send me a message, I'm not responding immediately. But if I say, hey, if we go on this one-on-one, I can answer all your questions in 15 minutes. I can get you ready in 15 minutes. Right? That's a value add to them. I think I saw a question. All right, so that's the answer to the last two. We're going to talk about what to say on camera and then how often do we actually invite our target audience. And really you can do this in a CTA, right? At the end of a caption, you can do this all the time, but all of your content should not be invitations, right? It should be a mix. If you post 3 times a week, you can do 1, 2, 3, right? And attract a warm and invite to make it as simple as possible until you get in your flow, until you start feeling that consistency. I would say if you post 3 times a week, one of each reel, there you go. Don't overcomplicate it.
Question.
Yep.
Okay, so you gave us how to respond,
Mhm.
but those other people, you call them not your outbound, your inbound. Something you said.
Yep. Yep.
Other people, are you just reaching out to them? Are you just talking to them? Like the other conversations you're making?
That's it. That's it. Imagine somebody, Stephanie said this, Fit Moms. I work out at a place called Fit Moms. It is the most organic. I started working out there just to work out before I even really was talking about real estate, which was crazy of me. But I just work out. I just build relationships. That's it. When you're doing outbound, you don't want to sound like I'm only talking to you so you can use me as your realtor. That's not genuine. That's not authentic. And really, I can't do that. I can't sustain that for years and years and years. right? If I go to the nail salon and I just start building relationships and having conversations, oh, you use that color pink. I love that color pink. What number is that? And I'm building relationship, and then maybe it goes into real estate. Maybe we connect after that. No, then it makes sense. So you want to build relationships because once you build relationships, they'll follow you, you follow them. They'll eventually see your real estate content, and they'll eventually say, "Oh, she's a realtor."
Oh,
Right?
okay. So
You know what I mean?
other
Like you're gonna
people,
build that organic relationship.
the
I want
other
to know
people
that
are
I
like
can build
off of,
my business. Oh, go ahead, say it, Charlie.
sorry. I was saying, so the other conversations are really like off of Instagram. The ones that come to you are on Instagram. You don't really reach out to people on Instagram. They are coming to you there, right?
Both. I'm doing both. But I guess I'm using their example of like conversation at the nail salon. That's the same way our conversation should be for outbound on social media. If I see a girl's page and I like her hair, like I like how she does her hair or no, whatever, whether she travels to Paris sometimes, and I
Hmm.
go to her page and I interact with her page for that content, I'm just doing it organically. Now, in my head, I know this would probably be my ideal client.
Right.
I know that, but I'm also leading with an organic heart. I'm doing it because I genuinely like, oh, I like this person's post, or it looks like somebody I might be interested in.
Understood. Do you do that a little more often because of what you got your system, or it's just no?
Exactly. Because I have the system doing my outbound stuff, right? I have my reels, I have my calendar, I have all that set up already. So I don't have to spend my daily time doing the outbound social media because I have the system in place. A
Right.
lot of the time could be my inbound social media. That's a great question, Charlie. Yes. But if I'm taking up all the 3 hours that I have a day outside of work at XYZ, doing both, that's where things get lost in the sauce. That's where I'm not really being intentional.
Right. Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Do
Yes,
you
yes.
do you do you use Catalina in your on your Instagram, or do you give it to them once they DM you?
So I do both. So I have it in my links, like in my bio, I have it there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then I also have it in when they DM me, I send them the Calendly link. Yep, I do both.
I have a question
Yep.
actually. Do you use Ready Chat like when people comment home or stuff like that? Yeah, does that help your business at all?
Now I haven't used Ready Chat, but I have used Mini Chat, and I'm going to assume that they're probably really similar. It's like an automated response to your comments. Is that Ready Chat?
Yes.
Okay, yes. All right. So I've used Mini Chat before. Hold on, somebody says, would I, oh, what I've realized is that when I built the system and I started building my social media, I was very authentic. I was the one, if I had 100 comments on a reel, I was the one commenting on all of them. And so I think my audience and my community got really used to Tiana being the one to respond. So when I did start to implement mini chat for a little bit, I saw that my conversion rates went down. And I genuinely think that's because it just came off a completely different tone than I started with. However, it doesn't mean you can't. It means I probably could play around with like my responses and seeing how that goes. Or if you're just going to start getting consistent with your content, you can, I would say, implement Ready Chat or Mini Chat in the beginning. That way, your audience or your community is already used to that. You know what I mean? But if I'm commenting and I'm being the one having the conversations with them, and then all of a sudden this automatic thing just says like, hey, such and such and such, I think it was a disconnect from myself. But I think it's a great tool and I see a lot of people use it. You just have to be mini chat. I'm going to write it in chat. Mini chat. Yep. And they do have like a free version, the XYZ, but I just feel for my audience and my ideal client, they seem to respond better when it's me or when it sounds more like me. Sure, it's that same. Yep, yep. That is a great tool. All right, I know we need to get into what to actually say to my clients. Tiana said, how do I filter, right? How do I know exactly who I'm talking to? This is Business Real Estate 101. Your content should sound like your client. Okay, it should sound like your client. Generic content attracts nobody. 100 people going to look past and say, that's pretty. But if you're not using words, pain points, clear content that's speaking to them, you're not going to attract the right people. Like the real, where I mentioned the nurses. If I'm not using content that's going to attract their high income earners, nurses, are you usually priced out of down payment assistance? It's just generic content. But once I start using words that my ideal client relates to and they can identify with, boom, there you go. I went from 100 people just looking to 20 people sending me DMs.
So how do you find out the nurses grants and stuff like that? So where do we look, or do we just
That portion is really just about resources and access, right? So once you start building, there's this quote that says, when you build a garden, butterflies will come. Some of this stuff is genuinely go on Google and I research Philly grants, down payment assistance programs, right? Some of it is again outbound, but then a lot of it is when lenders and title companies and other realtors know this is what Teonna does. Teonna specializes in it and first-time home buyers. They share the information as well. So it's kind of like a two-way street. But when I started, I would just say, okay, I'm an educator. I can educate people. I know a lot of first-time home buyers need grants. Let me go read about grants. And it sounds so simple, but when I tell you, when every realtor asks me that question and I tell them the same thing, they still don't do it. They think somebody's just going to come down and rain on them and say, these are the grants that's available. But when I tell you, when you go the extra mile and you're researching, and you're looking up and you're asking questions, that's how I find out 100% of the information. Well, not 100, but maybe like 95. And then the other 5% is people share information with me. Absolutely do the work. Absolutely do the work. And again, the reason why I knew to pay attention to those grants is because I knew my ideal client was a nurse.
T.
Yep.
So is it grants like say you haven't, or you have a client that haven't been in their job for like 2 years or almost a year? Is it grants that are still allow them to become a first time home buyer?
Well, in general, that's more of like a mortgage lender requirement, right? So like grants wouldn't go against what a mortgage lender would ask for. Because say if it was a grant that did allow that, once they get to apply for a mortgage, the mortgage lender is still going to say, well, no, you need XYZ, right? So I wouldn't be so specific to say, okay, if you haven't had a place of employment or consistent income for 2 years, you can still qualify for a grant. Instead, I would help my client. I would help them get to where they need to be. I would follow up with them every 30 days until they hit that mark, that 2-year mark, if that's what they need. And then we can assist them. The goal is not to assist our clients and like try to find all these loopholes, right? To get to home ownership. It's to walk them through the process of getting to home ownership.
Mm-hmm.
So, but here are the 3 target audiences, and I just picked out 3, but there's so many, maybe you want to do relocation, and there's so many other kind of target audiences, but I'm just picking these 3 for example purposes. If my target audience are first-time home buyers, they need to be educated. They have so much anxiety because they have no idea what's going on. They need to be calmed. They need to be reassured. The tone and the content that you put out should sound like that. If you're talking to sometimes logical or data-driven to a first-time home buyer, it can scare the mess out of them. Right? They need you to explain the why, not just the what. They need to know that you understand that they're anxious. And even though they're anxious, this is how you help them. This is how you help them overcome that. Your tone, it needs to be nurturing, supportive, reassuring. So a lot of times when I see realtors posting like, why are you doing this? And you should not be doing that. And stop be doing this. It's like, okay, maybe that, helps their target audience. But if they're going for first-time home buyers, they are probably scared out of their mind of them. And so when we say, why isn't my content attracting? Why am I not getting leads? Think about the tone and the energy you're putting out there. Right? And it seems so simple, but it means so much. Busy professionals. If we're talking about busy professionals, they probably need you to be direct, efficient, confident, right? My ideal client, she's on her game too, right? So my ideal client is usually somewhere a mix between first-time home buyers and busy professionals. She's confident, she's a smart, she's probably college educated or some kind of additional education. So she likes to feel confident. She likes to feel empowered. She doesn't need all the fluff, but she does need clarity and clear next steps. So in your content, and again, this translates to content because now I know, okay, this is the kind of content I need to be putting out. Steps. 5 steps to purchase your first home. Right? When I'm doing my speaking content, I need to make sure it's including that confidence. It needs to be direct. It needs to be clear. And then finally, investors. What kind of content should I be putting out if I want to attract investors? Investors are amazing clients. They buy the property, you flip it, you sell it. Right? Usually that's a twofer, and they keep coming on back. It needs to be strategic. It needs to be numbers driven. You need to be given, return on investments and all that logic and terminology. They can thrive on that. It needs to be analytical. And we can assume they know they have an understanding, like a foundational understanding of real estate in the market. But when I start talking about market analysis to a first-time home buyer, they're like, what? What is she talking about? What is a market? What, right? Like and not that they can't understand it, but I'm just saying the majority, it kind of loses them. So that's the kind of content and how the tone that my content needs to deliver. And it takes practice.
May I ask a question?
Yep.
First off, thank you so much for dropping so many of these gems. It's much appreciated. So I myself feel like I'm between like first time buyers and investors. Started my business with listings and it just, that's the majority of what I do. However, I've been trying to be a little bit more well-rounded in in who I attract, as far as my clients. What would you recommend? Because I mean, if you take a look at my page a little bit later, you'll see like I do a lot of attracting for first time buyers and also investors, but I also don't want to leave out those busy professionals. You get what I'm saying? Like I
Yeah.
want to be, you know, I've been getting a lot of like investor calls where, they see me putting up these distressed properties. And now I'm like, sell my property 911. Like they calling me like, oh, I got this property I need you to sell. But I don't want to just do investment properties or list,
Yes, yes,
$70,000 properties, $100,000. Like that's not what I want to do
yes.
full time. I want to help. So I do take them on. What would you suggest? Thank you.
Yes, I absolutely love the question. Okay, what I'm going to say, and you're going to be like, Teonna, no. You're going to have to decide who to target at any given period on your social media, right? So maybe you're going to say, okay, right now I'm going to target first-time home buyers. It doesn't mean that you can't get investors, right? Because I can still get investor clients by utilizing my CRM and making sure I'm having investor client emails get sent out. I can still target investors by making sure I'm on the MLS finding investment properties and send out. When you sent out that text message that time, I still haven't forgot that. That was a few months ago. But that kind of text message, right? I can still target different audiences, but it may not be the same way because otherwise, first-time homebuyers are going to get confused when you're posting investors content, and then investors going to get confused when you're doing the first time home buyer content. Or plan B is do both, right? You can do both, but it needs to just be really clear when you're posting it, right? It just needs to be for my first time home buyer content, and it needs to be clear when the first time home buyer goes to your page. Maybe like your reels, if you do reels, your covers, the covers and the words and the text you use on them have to be very clear so they know where to go, right? Or in your investor content, that should be use the text on screen to say, okay, they know where to go. That would be either one of those. Or because myself, when I started, I did first time home buyers, grants, down payment assistance, everything. I would say this past year, 2025, I've had so many investor clients. I had people do flips. I had people who were buying their second property. And I've never posted anything about buying, your second home. That's never really my content, but they will come. Okay, so it doesn't mean you have to like isolate or alienate every other audience, but it does mean if I'm not targeting one, they're not coming to me. So if my moneymaker, if my income, my higher income is coming from those first-time home buyers that's paying my bills, that's who I probably need to target in this way. And my investors, I maybe need to find another way, like that text message system, and it needs to be consistent so that like that's my background pipeline. But my main pipeline that's really keeping my wheels turning is my first-time home buyers or my busy professionals, right? But I love that question because I can absolutely relate. We want
Got
to look at everybody.
got you. Thank you so much for providing that clarity. I appreciate that.
Of course, of course. It's something else we're going to talk about with target audience, and it's 8 o'clock, but we got gems to drop, so we're going to keep on going. Target audience. So even more specifically, and I'm giving you guys this because this is exactly what I do. Even more specifically, is I think about where is my target audience. Not only so my tone, my content. That's my outbound, right? That's what I'm presenting myself as, right? My content that goes out. But then I also need to think about if I'm want people to come to me and I want to build organic relationships where we build trust with one another. I need to be going out and thinking about where's my ideal clients. I know the events they go to, I know the wellness, I know the gyms, and that takes research. You have to really think about it. Even if you've had 3 past clients, think about the commonalities between those past clients. What was their age range? Where did they live? Where did they work? What were their professions? What do they do as their hobbies? And if you're like, Tiana, I don't know, do you follow them on Instagram? Do you check in on them? Do you have conversations with them? If not, I want you to start. I want you to start. I could tell you right now, 5 pages on Instagram or 5 hobbies. I could go to a page on Instagram and find a plethora of my target audience. If I go to a Pilates page, a wellness page, I know that's where they are. Now, do I genuinely enjoy Pilates? I do. But do I also know my target audience is there and I can build relationships with them? I do. Right now, I'm not saying go, I'm going to go to Comic-Con because I don't like comic books. So I'm not going to go there. Even if my target audience is there, that's just not what I'm going to do. Right. So I'm not saying go outside yourself and be fake but find where things intersect. Right? Where are your investor clients doing? Where are they going? They're probably interested in like trading or stocks. So what spaces allow you to be in there and to have those kind of organic conversations? It might be networking events, or it just might be other events that give you the opportunity to have conversations. So when it comes to target audience, I know people say a lot of this part, the content part, but you really need to start to think like them. What are they doing? Where are they at? Are they moms? Where do moms go? What kind of contents are are moms interested in? Yep, Charlie.
Okay, so about the target audience, it seems like you have, like, say, for instance, first-time buyers is your target audience. It seems like you go a little further to figure out where they're at because
It's that extra mile. Mm-hmm.
all the first-time buyers might not be your target first-time buyer.
Yes, yes, Charlie. Yes, yes, yes. 1,000%. And that's why I'll share all the information in the world. We can all love first-time home buyers, but all of our first-time home buyer has a different profile. So it's not like I have to worry about somebody else still in my client because my client is I'm so clear on her. You're so clear on your target client. One realtor's target client may not have a family yet. Maybe haven't started their family. Maybe they're younger. Maybe they're college or just graduated, right? And maybe someone else is in their 30s and 40s. So maybe they have a family. So, but if you do not know those things, if you don't have them written down, which I've taught to you guys in coaching, you're just kind of blowing in the wind and you're not in the right spaces at the right times. I don't have a huge social life. I work a lot. However, when I do make it social, I'm like, am I going to brunch? Am I going to Pilates class? I'm like, well, if I go to Pilates class, at least I might also be able to get some clients. Right. So being really intentional about the content and the spaces and the conversations that we're having. Again, conversations. Now, I'm not saying when I go to Pilates and have that one conversation with this new girl named Stephanie, she's immediately going to become my real estate client. But it does mean that that's a seed that I planted. And we went to Pilates together. We're probably going to follow each other on social media, and we're probably right. It's going to be a train. It takes work, but you're going to get there. Yep, I see hands up. I'm going to be quiet. Go ahead.
Hey T, quick question.
Yep.
So do you actually spend time on Instagram and follow new people by any chance?
I do
Like
not.
start following people, you know what I mean?
No, no. I try to keep it as organic as possible because I feel like that's something I can stay consistent with. But
Gotcha.
if I go out and say, okay, let me take 5 minutes today and just find people to follow, I guess my first question if somebody did that to me is like, well, why are they following me? Like, who is this person? But if it's somebody going to a Pilates class together before and I recognize their face, I'm more likely to say like, oh, okay. Right? Versus it just being like
Yeah.
a random person following me. But if it's somebody I know, we kind of walk in the same circles, it just feels a little bit more organic that way. I find that they're warmer right?
Mhm.
Otherwise, it's a cold lead versus a warm lead. So yes, that's a great question.
Do you normally follow them back if they follow you first?
Yep. I follow them back. That way I can see what they're doing, what they have going on.
Okay.
Tomorrow was your birthday. Happy birthday, girl. Right? Get those conversations started. Don't be afraid. The only way it looks weird and strange and creepy is if, like, again, you probably came out of nowhere. Y'all don't have the same circles. They go to your page and don't see any relevant value. They go to your page and
Right.
you have posted since 2023. You know what I mean? Like, then it looks funny.
Mhm.
But otherwise, if you're posting consistently, you're in your stories, you guys kind of maybe do the same things, know the same people, it's more organic that way.
Makes sense. Thank you.
You're so welcome, Grace. I think two other people had their hand up. Well, I'll go there. Thank you.
This is Dom from Maryland.
Hi, Dom.
Hi. I had a question or wanted to get your thoughts. What do you think about adding the personal touch, like getting super comfortable with your audience versus like staying professional, very tight professional? Do you think it's harmful? Do you think it's actually helpful to find your audience?
It's really what you're comfortable with. If you know me and me and my clients, be like this. We talk, we figure it out, we do goals together. Like I have a goal with one of my clients that we're going to apply for this membership in Q1, like Q2. Like it's really a community though. Like I built my business to where it's more so a community. And if that's what you want, which I think builds longevity, then go that route. Whatever you feel like genuine doing.
Got it.
I would say like that's the best. And whatever you can keep up to. I do it because it's authentically me. So I think that's really the key, like Tess said, that we're doing here. Where it feels genuine, where it feels authentic, but you also want it to be intentional.
Yep. Thank you.
Yes, you're so welcome. And then again, if my ideal client is a busy professional, sometimes we do professional things together. Sometimes they have networking events for their job or their business, and I attend. So sometimes it's a little mix of both. But I find that helps them refer me and come back to me, right? Really build relationship with me. Exactly, building community. Absolutely. I know their birthdays. I know all the things. One of my clients that got engaged, married, everything since we closed together. Yes. All right, I think it was one more hand up, or unless you answered the question already. We have a few more slides and then we're gonna bang out, but I do not want to skip out on these gems.
Nope, go ahead. You already
Okay,
answered my question.
hold on, stop. All right, so we talked about what content, we know our ideal client, we know how to talk to them, we know how many conversations we need to have. We're going to really quickly go back to the DMs because I kind of already explained this, but the content does not close the deal. The content either attracts, warms, or invites. But the goal in that funnel was to get them to your DMs. That's the starting point of the conversation. All right. Sometimes agents don't respond. Sometimes agents send the link without really having any explanation about what I'm going to do when I get to this link. There's no system in place. It's not intentional. It's just like, okay, I have this reel, 100 people are in my DMs now. What happens next? Right. And then that's where we lose a lot of people. So make sure, even if you aren't having this traction yet, that you have in place a system in your notes app or wherever you want to copy and paste it from. Make sure you have this is going to be my response when people ask me about real estate and when they use the keyword that I told them to use: grant, house, buy, sell, whatever the word is. Already have that planned out. That way you can read it over a few times, get the verbiage right, get the lingo right. If you're going to use ChatGPT, do your thing, but make it come from your heart. When I built the system, it wasn't using ChatGPT, right? It can be very efficient, but you do not want it to lose the tone and the personality of you. Trust yourself enough to know that you can run your business and you can connect with your ideal client without it needing necessarily to come from a robot, right? We got to trust ourselves with that. So again, awkward DMs, you help that by having your follow-up already written out. Don't be afraid to sound salesy. I have had comments where people say, "Oh, like I have to book on one-on-one. Like, why can't I just tell you right here, right now? Like, why can't you just answer all my questions right now?" And again, I explained to them, I want to be efficient. I want to be able, to answer all of your questions. Everything is lost in my DM sometimes. This is easier. And they'll go, "Oh, no, you know what? You're right. We can talk about this in 15 minutes." Don't be afraid to have that conversation. Again, you have to trust yourself, but having a system helps.
Teonna, does that also separate the the quality of the lead? Because some people that don't want to take the extra step to have the conversation on Kindly, I feel like they're also leads that kind of go dry after a couple pieces of dialogue.
For sure. It's going to do one of two things. Either, okay, you can look at it one of two ways. Either yes, it's eventually going to, if they don't want to take that next step, they're just not willing to commit in the way that your business needs them to commit. Because let's be honest, every person that wants to work with us, and this is in any business, doesn't mean you want to work with them. You know what I mean? Like they have to fit into your system, right? And if they don't want to commit to this, they probably don't want to commit to contracts. They probably don't want to commit to show, right? So you're probably helping yourself. However, I also would take the time to think to myself and say, hey, what kind of content am I putting out that's attracting so many people, however many, like a large number of people who are not willing to make that link, right? To hit that link and schedule a consultation. Because my ideal client, she's serious about her time, her business, she got her kids, she got this, that, and the third. She wants efficiency. Right. So that's why it works for her. And that's why my content attracts her. And that's why a lot of my clients don't get upset when I send them that link. They're like, oh, yes, thank you. Because if it's not on my calendar, it's not happening. You know what I mean? Which is probably how a lot of us are. If it's not on our calendar at this point in our lives, I'm going to forget about it. So again, thinking about the content that I'm putting out, who is it attracting? If I'm putting out a lot of content, sometimes if you're a heavy rental agent, which is a great thing, right? It could be a great thing, but we also need to think about sometimes it comes with that. Sometimes it's going to come with people who just may not be ready, or maybe sometimes they don't know that process. And so that could be a piece of content. Making sure you kind of outline or speak about, because that helps a lot, what that process looks like. If they want to work with you, you want to work for me, you want to work with me, here are the 3 steps to do so. And making sure you include in your content, setting up a colony so you can have an efficient conversation and answer all their questions is going to help. All right, the confidence. Confidence does not come from, it comes from doing something hard, right? It doesn't come from like, oh, I did it and it was perfect and everything's fine and dandy. When I first started, I promise y'all, if y'all scroll down enough, I was getting 3 likes, getting a couple hundred views. I had less than 1,000 followers. The confidence did not get built in those 30 days. I became more confident when I saw myself saying, wow, I'm doing something really hard. Even though this is really hard, I'm still doing it. And I'm a little more confident. And I know what I'm talking about now. And, I'm speaking a little more clearly. And right, it comes from doing the work. So I want to kind of take that mindset shift from saying, I'm not confident enough to do it, to say, well, you're not confident enough because you're not doing it. Okay, I'm gonna hold your hand when I say that. You become confident when you're doing it, and you'll continue more confident and more confident. It's not like this end goal. It's not the destination. It's the journey of confidence. And you do that from feedback, repetition, support, and correction in real time. And sometimes that means having some kind of accountability, some kind of coach, some kind of something to give you that. Because what you guys would do when you get off this call is start posting content, but then say, ooh, well, is it right? Am I doing it right? Is my tone right? Is my ideal client, is she looking at this? Right? You'll have all these questions. So making sure you have the support, or starting to think about what supports do I have to make sure, right, I'm in that. You're so welcome, DeRay. Make sure you reach out to me with any questions.
Thank you.
You are so welcome. Follow me on Instagram, ask questions there. We'll have much more there as well.
Will do. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
Bye.
All right, we're getting to the end. Results. A reminder, the results don't come in a week. The results don't come because you had one viral reel. It comes from systems, because you can have a viral reel, but if you don't have your Calendly link, you don't have a call to action, where are these people going? So again, this is really just reiterating that systems are going to be so important in having accountability. A reminder that it can fit your real estate schedule, whether you're part-time, full-time, half-time, different personalities, because again, what you post is going to be who you attract. Maybe your ideal client is more, if you're laid back, more of an introvert, your content can speak to that. I follow some pages and their content, like their pivot is for overachievers or for anxious girlies. Instead of them saying, oh, I'm so anxious, I'm not going to be able to find my people. They said, wait, my people are the anxious people. My people are the overachievers. Right? Use that as leverage, because if you're not the only person who has the same personality style, other people can really benefit from your personality and the way that you present value, in a way that maybe they wouldn't connect with me because maybe I am too bubbly and I am too extroverted. The goal is to get your content to contracts. About 90% of my closings from 2024 were specifically from social media. 2025 is when very quickly those social media closings turn to also referrals. What I need you guys to implement today, I mean, it's 8:15 tonight, we're about to get off, but today/tomorrow. Identify, number one, this is not on here, but identify track your conversations. That's number 3. Track your conversations. Track how, the same way you track your budget, your money, or your food intake, your calories, your protein. Track how many conversations have I had about real estate today or this week, and how many of those conversations produced a actual client or a lead, somebody who's ready to start real estate today. Track that, not your likes, because that's going to discourage you every time. Identify which real type you are missing. If you're missing all 3, making sure, you have invitation, warm, and attract. Excuse me. Make sure your posts have clear invitations. You have a business. Do not be upset about marketing that. I see commercials every day. I see bulletin boards every day. Everyone is saying, use me today. Don't try to do anything other than that. It's okay to say, hey, I provide a service. I can help you. This is how I can help you. There's nothing wrong with that. And protect time to follow up. Make sure you set a time a few times a day to respond to DMs. I'm not saying respond to DMs all day long. We have other things to do. We have lives, but say, hey, at 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and 6 o'clock, I'm going to go ahead and respond to my DMs. I'm going to respond to the text messages or phone calls, voicemail. That's the best way to do it. Does it work? If you don't know me personally, if you do know me personally, living proof of it. But also being able to teach this very system over and over and over again, it absolutely works. This one right here is Oliver, agent in Delaware. He says, I've been consistent for 3 days, already have 2 consultations set up for today. Past rental clients, calling them to purchase. Because this agent was like, okay, I've had clients, but I don't know how to kind of follow up with them. I want them to know that I'm more than a leasing agent, right? Are you posting first-time homebuyer content? Do they know they can come back to you? And we assume these things. We assume that it's clear, but sometimes it's not. People say, okay, yeah, she helped me rent, but this agent told me they can help me buy, so I need to use them. But does your content let people know that you do all of that, if that's what you do? If today gave you a little more clarity and showed you, hey, if I implement these things, I could have a much tighter system. This is a system. Know your numbers. Know your ideal client. Narrow down your content. And when I say narrow down, it means narrow down to who your target audience is. Get that really clear. You should have, if you take out a sheet of paper, I would say at least 75% of it, 3/4 of it should be details about your ideal client. And if being on this call showed you that, you're not behind. You just need a system. You need to be more intentional. You just need more support. No, everyone can hop off this call, and today and tomorrow start to implement these systems. But if you're like, okay, I think I need a little bit more, I would be remiss to tell you that I can also help you with that. Because now our wheels are turning and we're like, okay, I have an idea about a system. How do I customize it? How do I figure out what my tone is? How do I know if this is right? How do I set up my Calendly? How do I make sure it's in my CRM correctly? right? If now your wheels are turning and you're thinking about the full strategy that we couldn't talk about in a 1 hour call, if you're thinking, okay, even if I get them to sign a contract, like how do I explain the contract? How do I go over the contract? There's two different ways we can go about that. The first one is a full lead gen playbook. We're going through your whole lead gen. Right? So lead generation is social media, but it should also be other things. Like when Shar said, okay, what if I want to talk to investors and first-time home buyers? We can have text message systems set up for lead gen. We can have contracts. We can have automated emails that's going out, right? So that our whole lead gen should be a system. Or you're thinking more broadly outside of your lead gen, personalized coaching. This is how you do that. So personalized coaching is more like broader. But if you're specifically like, I got some other things down packed, but my pipeline sometimes isn't full, or I'm not converting as much as I would want to. I'm doing all this work, I'm having all these conversations, and I'm not getting enough solid leads. That can be lead gen. But if you're like, well, I have some other questions, or I think I need, or I might need, this QR code, personalized coaching, goes to us to have a deeper conversation about that. We're going to have a 30-minute, it's free phone call about, okay, what might you need moving forward? This one is specifically if you need lead gen assistance and further assistance with social media. All right, it's 8:21. I heard y'all. I yapped long enough. Any questions that I can answer? I know there are probably so many. T said her wheels are turning. Any other questions before we log off? And if we have to log off, I get it. I understand, but I could not go all night without telling you guys all this information.
I think for me, my question would be, should I be afraid to, I don't want to say afraid because I'm not afraid.
I was already going to stop it right there.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm like just talking. So this will be, I want to say after this conversation, it's probably going to be my third time repositioning my social media. What do you say to that?
Do it as many times as you need to. Reinvent yourself as many times as you need to.
Okay.
As
Okay.
many times as you need to. The key, what I would suggest is really, number one, I'm a reflective person. I would say, why? Why do I feel like I'm repositioning it? Right? And I would say, what works? What has worked? Because some things have worked. And what things have not worked? Move. And then once I do that, then the next repositioning can make maybe a little more sense. Maybe I don't have to reposition so often. If I'm really making a strategy and thinking about what has worked and what hasn't worked. That's what I would do first before just going ahead and changing everything. Because there's things that you're probably going to change that may not even need to be changed.
Thank you for that.
You're so welcome, Shar. As many times as you need to. You're so welcome, Grace. Let me know if you have any questions. And again, scan the QR code. This one goes to really diving into your lead gen. And then the personalized coaching is a 30-minute call for us to talk about, okay, what do you need going forward? What is it next? Because there's a difference between knowing what to do and how to do it and actually doing it. How many of us have listened to podcasts, watched YouTube videos, been on another class or webinar that I had, but just could not figure out how to implement it consistently. So the lead gen playbook is how to really customize and tailor your lead gen playbook to you and your specific goals. Exactly. Yes. Can you talk about mixing personal life in my social media and my business content? Honestly, it's something that maybe it's why I focus so much on organic business. I think about my long-term goals, not fees. My long-term goals is to be able to do it in such an organic way. I don't want to have to get up and hold the sign up outside that says, I'm a realtor, please use me. So I said, hey, even though that might be easy to do right now, to really market myself every single day and be salesy every single day, it doesn't fit with my long-term goals. I want to be able to be 50 and just grow my business from my relationships. You know what I mean? So to me, it's almost, it makes sense. It's authentic. But again, it's because I know my long-term goal is to not have to like wear a real estate sign on my forehead every day to get business. I want people to see me as the, obviously. I know Teonna, we work out together, and she's obviously the best realtor choice. You need to become the obvious choice to your target audience. And a part of that, again, is my target client. She does the same things, a lot of the same things I do. So it would make sense that we relate and I share some of those things. So it's a mix of like organic, but also really intentional. If I'm going to post, I might as well post and make it make sense. Exactly, exactly. All right. If there's no other questions, you all drop your social media handles in the chat, because that, again, that also will be another way for us to stay in touch. It'll be a way for me to see your content, you to see my content, see examples. If you're like, okay, Teonna, I need time to like figure this out. But if you know for sure, you're like, I don't need another day to miss out on another lead, another client. I need to do it now. I need to implement it now. Then the lead gen playbook or scheduling a call with me is going to be the best way to do that now. It's January. Remember, we think of our clients 60 days out. A typical closing could be 60 days from now. So if we spend another 30 days whamming it, flying by the seat of our pants like we did for the past 3 years, that may not be where you are. If you're more like, no, I need to know there's a closing coming in 60 days. Then we just need to be more strategic and intentional about what we do next. What's our next step? Because you can have pretty content, you can have gorgeous content, but is it working for you? Is it doing the thing that you want it to actually do? And if it's not, then we need to rethink that support. Even down to, what do I post on my feed versus what do I post in my stories? I'm gonna stop. Exactly, sure. All the little things, all little things that we can't even get to in an hour and a half. Really thinking about that and customizing it to target what you're trying to do, what your business goals are. That's where these two come in.
Teonna, one
Yep.
last thing. What other background or back office like softwares that you use that help
That's
you with like I see you said the mini chat, the
yeah.
social media, the calls, any other like CRMs that you use to help you get your leads or generating clients?
Yes. So really social media, I would say is like the bulk of it, especially in 2023, 2024. That's growing. Like I use that to grow my pipeline. And then we have like our CRM, how I organize it and follow up with them. And I have a really thorough CRM, and I know who gets what email when they get it, who to say happy birthday to, my sellers, my buyer. It's really organized. That it comes from Keller Williams. I use my Keller Williams command to do that. There are other CRMs that aren't connected to like a brokerage, but I use the one that's connected to my brokerage. ManyChat, I did use it to test it out. I don't feel like it worked for me and my clients, so I don't use that anymore. But outside of that, no other like apps. I try to keep it as streamlined as possible. Because 9 times out of 10, if you have 3 things that you use and you use them to their fullest potential, like Command, like Instagram, right? They'll probably do a lot of the work for us. It's when we have 10 things and we're not using any of them to its best capacity, it's not really efficient. So my Instagram, it works really efficiently for me, and I use what's in the app. And then my CRM is really thorough as well. Because again, you can get people off Instagram, you can have a consultation with them, but are you following up with them? If they said their credit is a 420, what's your system after that? Right? If they say, okay, I have $3 saved, what's your system after that? So it's all these systems in place, but those are not necessarily apps. That's just a system that I've created in my CRM. And that goes with any business, even if it's not necessarily real estate. How do you have a system to follow up with your clients?
That was where I so
Mm-hmm.
a lot of this I was implementing, but the other 50% I really needed. But I say that to say this. When I was getting a lot of the DMs and people reaching out and I was following up and having those conversations that led to, the clients, a
Yep.
lot of those clients were in the category of I have no money saved or I have 400 or 500 credit score. And that discouraged me. And instead of nurturing them the way I was supposed to,
Yep.
I didn't keep up with them. And so I went on a cruise for my birthday this year. And on my cruise, literally two clients closed. When I say they closed, when I was at the port, and another one closed when I was like packing my stuff the week later. They both closed in the same week. And I'm like, oh my goodness, because they both were so far behind.
Mm-hmm.
However, I didn't keep up with them and it hurt my soul. And I'm like,
Yes.
you left all that money on the table. And, again, so I think for me, I need to get more consistent with my CRM and find a way. Like you said, they say they score 400. What's your system after that? Mine was discouragement. I got discouragement. Like, I can't help you,
Yes.
baby.
Yes.
But
Yes.
there probably could have been a way. So I have to find out how to, you know what I mean? How to be more of a resource to that particular client so that I can keep.
Exactly. Yes, yes. And building that out so that because if we're discouraged, imagine how discouraged they are because the next
Absolutely.
agent, and the next agent probably going to meet them with that same thing. Not that we don't want to work with them, not that we don't want to help them, but because we don't have the systems, it's like they kind of fall through the cracks. And now they've done talk to 5 agents, they've been discouraged so many times. What if they never buy a house? But guess what? That one agent who said, hey, let's do a 30-day check-in call, let's do XYZ. They had a system, that's what they closed with. And I've been there. I've been there where I'm like, oh, there was that person who name I wrote down on a piece of paper instead of putting it in my CRM and putting them into my system. And I saw them close with another agent.
Yep.
So sometimes it takes that experience for us to tighten up. It to tighten up. Absolutely, absolutely.
And one thing I will say for that too, because I'm like learning, like, I don't really have the patience for first time home buyers. So with that too, it's just like if I get somebody that reaches out, like they going to Teonna or like finding somebody that like within your network because you're still building those relationships and you're still not just leaving them hanging. Like you still were a resource that were able to get it done. And that's understanding of like, I just had to swallow that pill of like, this ain't for me. But like,
Exactly, exactly. And it makes you a trusted source, right? Because sure, even if that person who had the 400 credit score, it's taking them another 12 months, and we like, okay, you're not going to be my hot lead. You want to be my cool lead. But when you had that 30-day check-in call or whatever, 3 month, whatever your system is check-in call with them, and you're building that rapport and that trust, they may not use you for another 12 months. But guess what? They don't tell their mom about you, their coworker about you, their cousin about you, because you were there for them in the way a lot of other agents were. So that's something that also made me create that system of like, what do I do? Because again, I was getting, hundreds and hundreds of leads per reel, and let's be honest, everybody didn't have a 700 credit score. So I had to create a system to say, hey, I don't want to lose all 150 of these leads that I got today because they have a 400 credit score. What do I then do? Right. So now, again, my CRM is really, really targeted. And that's a whole nother class. And honestly, the lead gen playbook about how do I have system after system after system. I have the social media, but okay, what do I do if this happens? It's like the flow chart. It's like, okay, do they have good credit score? Yes, they go here. If not, they go here. If they have money saved, they go here. They're like it's a whole thing. Social media is just one part of it. And I always tell my agents that it's just one part of it. Because I still got to get them to a lender and pre-approved. I still got to show them houses. I still got to get them to the closing table. Right. There's so many other parts. That's why we need a system for social media, because we cannot spend all our days and nights and all our lives and all our energy on social media, like on our social media system. So we got to make a system and we got to let that go so that we can do other things. If you feel like social media is taking up majority of like your mental energy and is stressing you out, we need to walk through kind of where your holes are so we can fill those up, where your gaps, fill those up. And Dom, that's an absolutely viable source. Say, hey, like I don't specialize in this, but such and such does. Because then it allows you more energy to really focus on who your person is, on who your target audience is. So I'm not going to keep holding y'all. Scan the QR codes again. The personalized coaching one, this is a 30-minute call for us to talk about kind of what your next steps might be, whether that's getting support from me, whether it's something else that you need to do. Turn the light on. And then the lead gen playbook is specifically if you know, okay, I know I need to continue building my system with my lead gen. And then you scan those and sign up.
I booked mine for tomorrow, so I will see you then.
I cannot wait. I cannot wait. I look how long I had you on tonight. I will have you on for hours and hours and hours. I can talk all night. Because again, I know how much it literally changed my life. It changed my business. It changed my income. So I get it. If nobody gets it, Teonna gets it. But message me. Your Real Estate Pro Coach is where I'll be posting a lot more coaching content there. Then Teonna Renee, I'll be sharing that content there, but that'll be mostly like my main real estate buyer seller kind of content. But again, your real estate coaches is where a lot more of that content is going to come through on.
Thank you so much.
You are so welcome. You're so welcome. Tamira, share, clarify, coach1@getprocoach.com. If you want to email me directly, if one of these options do not kind of answer what you're looking for tonight, coach1@getprocoach.com, and we can talk through what that looks like. You're so welcome, Shar. I'm so happy you all joined tonight. Implement the systems. Look over those notes. Do not let those notes just get lost in the book somewhere. These work. It works, it works, it works.
Thank you, Teonna.
You are
Have a great
so
night.
welcome. Good night. Good night. I'm excited to see everybody's content. Good night. All right, Tamira, I'll be right here.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. You're welcome. Charlie, I'm so happy you were on tonight. You're killing it, girl. Keep going.
Thanks, Teonna. I messaged you on, I'm sorry, my son. I messaged you on the side.
Okay. Oh, okay. I see it right here. Yes. Okay. All right. Yep. We sure will.
You want
Then
me
send
to
me an
do
email
the
too. Yeah.
you want me to do the third because I was about to put in